you ever felt.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Yeah. So it took us a while, right? We had to schedule.
Right? I know we're busy.
Yeah,
we're
it's
busy.
all right.
Well, and I'm so forgetful. Like, I was like, okay, I need to respond to that. If I don't respond immediately, I'm not going to respond.
That's all right. That's how I am too. It's like in my head, I go, like I thought about responding. And so my little Peabody brain is like, you already took care of that.
Yeah,
We're good.
It's done. We're
And
good.
then weeks later, somebody's angry at me. Like, you were kind of a jerk. Like, about what? Like, I thought we were good. Like, I'm so sorry.
Well, we were. We just forgot about you.
Oh, shit. But no, I'm so glad you came on, honestly. I think, we've been trying it for a couple of weeks or about a month to just get it scheduled, but it was just a little crazy. And honestly, it sort of worked out, I think, in the perfect way. It was just like, this is way better. There's not all this, like, I got to juggle everything to make sure this episode. So it's like, I came in today, had some time, got the studio back set up, and I was like, perfect. This is going to be, because this last week I went up to Denver, like I was telling you off camera, and I was out of my element. And I was like on the back patio with this one guy. And it was just like, okay, well, this is not acoustically ready. The cameras are not 100%, but it was good because it was like the conversation still went really well. But it's like, this is like my happy space. This is where like, I don't really control anything that happens in here, but I'm so comfortable with talking to people in this room that it's like, I was like, kind of like glad to be back and like, here's my lights and here's all my, so yeah, I'm glad that we got it scheduled, but pushed it off for a little ways. So to be honest with you. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, I know, so how long have you had the coffee shop?
It was a year in April. So we're
a
little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. A little while. That's good though. That's awesome. I mean, you guys probably had the new struggles. We can get into that. But I mean, so I know that, so Tracy was, when you guys were first starting or a couple of weeks after, Tracy Grusha did like hit me up to do some like music. And the thing of it is
Was
like,
that you?
I don't know enough music to like sit down and play in front of it. Like I could play at a campfire and sing about a chorus and a verse. And then I'm like, I don't remember the rest of the lyrics. But I just didn't feel comfortable doing something. It was way out of my element.
Right.
But then I started being like, what's going on with this? And, and I was just curious as to like, why the coffee shop? Why here? Like, why now? What was it for you that was like, because obviously there's coffee shops all around the world. There's big ones, large ones, small ones. But, it was like, it seemed like there was more to it than just like, hey, this is a coffee shop. Like, it seemed like it had a bit more of a backstory for you. So I wanted to know why. Like, why here? Why now? Why the coffee shop?
It definitely does. So it's Lizzy Q's fresh start. I've shared with you that I'm in recovery. I've got 8 years sober, or almost 8 years sober from alcohol. I have 8 years in January. And then 8 years now from hard drugs. But I just needed purpose, man. Like I wasn't happy anymore. I did property management for 12 years in Durango, and that was cool while it was cool. But it wasn't going to take me anywhere. I wasn't happy. I wasn't passionate about it. So after I had Ariana, she was like 2. I was like, I'm going to go to business school and I'm going to do something. And so I did. I got my business degree. During that 2-year period, I worked for a company called Clemmer and Associates. And it's this like super character development leadership program. And basically it was like, shit or get off the pot. Don't just talk about it, be about it, you know? And so I got my degree. That was right at the start of COVID. And it was, it was terrifying. What are we all going to do for jobs? That sort of thing. We had gotten sent home and I could work from home, but it wasn't fair. I was getting paid this amazing salary, but I wasn't able to do my job, So, and I'm not cool with that. So I quit, and I went back into property management for about 1.5 years, and I hated it. I hated every second of it, and I was like, I just can't anymore. So it was, all right, I'm going to take a jump, and I did. I bought a house 3 years ago, and like for me, like I don't know if you're familiar with addiction and how that fucks everything in life up. I was pretty fucked up, I had made some choices. Am I allowed to cuss?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm a total potty now.
Oh, me too. Yeah,
So-
absolutely. This is my safe space. I'll
Right,
yeah.
you're gonna be like, damn, that girl.
This is not rated for children.
We're gonna get like a censor button for her.
Oh, we're good.
But like, I mean, I had messed everything up in active addiction, active drinking. I had ruined my credit, everything. You know, I got married to a guy that I knew for like 2 months, just crazy, stupid shit. You know. So when I worked for Clemmer, it was a lot of cleaning up the, the wreckage. So I bought a house, and that was like a huge, huge deal. And John, when he moved in with me, I was like, I'm going to open a coffee shop in 1 year. And he was like, all right. He knew I would because I made that goal, and
Sure.
that's kind of my gig. I like to crush that shit. So a year and like 4 months later, I opened a coffee shop, and
Nice.
here we are. Lizzy Q's Fresh Start. I'm Lizzy Q. I'm Liz Quezada. But Fresh Start is kind of like it's my fresh start. This is my new life. This is what I get to do. I get to be a part of this community. I get to serve people. I get to mingle. We recently started doing like AA at the shop.
Sure.
And it's that was my goal. Like in my business plan, it was I'm going to create a space where people can go, and life is fucking heavy, you know? Get in there and have a good time. Like if you can't find something to smile, I'm the biggest dork you'll ever meet in your life, and I will get you to laugh, you know?
Yeah.
And that's been the goal, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing. I mean, obviously you have your ups and downs and your struggles and stuff, but I wake up in the morning and I'm like, hell yeah, I get to go to work, and it's cool. It feels good. Like I finally have purpose, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
It ended up in Bayfield. So I grew up out in this area, but I spent my adult life in Durango. But Ariana, my little girl, goes to school out here.
Okay.
So I bought a house in Ignacio. I was working in Durango, and Ariana went to school out here. So it was like this triangle every day. And I'm like, this is stupid. So
Can you pull that up just a little bit closer?
yeah, absolutely. Is that better?
Perfect. Yeah.
So I opened it up so I can be next to Ariana at school, and something comes up, I can run over. Or the coolest thing is like 7:50 in the morning on my week with Ariana, I close the shop for 10 minutes. I drive her to school every morning, and that's so effing cool. Like, I just love it. I love it. So I gotta be there. I gotta be there for my kid. I gotta be there for my community, and I get to love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
Did you have any experience running a coffee shop?
No,
were you a barista in years past?
I was
or
a barista. So, okay, when I got sober, I was a barista at Durango Bagel for about a month and a half. And then I got pregnant. And I literally, I had my first ultrasound, and I thought I scheduled it off. I didn't schedule it off properly. I got let go because I went to my doctor instead of to work.
Yeah.
So that was my experience in making coffee. But I bartended in Durango for ever and ever and ever. And I was a server. So I had the customer service stuff down. Not necessarily the coffee, but I drank a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I had tons of support. Like, do you know Dan Zwart?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Dan owns a coffee shop over in Milwaukee, the Daily Bird, and I called him. I'm really great friends with his family and with his mom, and I called him, and I was like, what do I do? He was like, all right, YouTube's going to be your best friend. We're going to learn these drinks. I mean, I've had an opportunity where I've had to go to him for information. How do I handle this with an employee? And he's just like, yo, Liz, this is what you got to do. And he's so cool. So I've had really great support, and people in the business really take me under their wings and show me the ropes. And
That's
it's been awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I was hoping to hear something like that because, I mean, oftentimes it depends on the industry or the person, maybe not even the industry, but definitely the person is if they'll, I had guys that would work with me in my last career, like when I had my electrical company, and you'd have certain types of journeymen or master electricians, they'd be great with apprentices and they would teach them everything. Then you had other guys that would keep these little, tricks of the trade, kind of close to their hip, because they feel that if they teach somebody that it's going to eventually put them out of a job. And I can't stand that mentality with any person with any career. If you're not willing to bring somebody else up with you, it's unexcusable to me. It's, it's like an act where I posted something this morning or last night. I was up way too fucking late. But anyways, it was give more than you take. That's it. That's the fucking rule in life. Give more than you take in whatever aspect you're whether it's work, whether it's, your personal life, whatever the case scenario is, like give more than you take. And that's a hard thing to do. It's not easy because at times you got to be selfish for life or money or whatever the deal. But when it comes to work, especially when you are a mentor, even if it's a subconscious mentor to another person, like somebody that's new in anything, right? Whether it's business development or whether it's an apprentice for an electrical shop or a plumber, like they kind of sometimes find that like line to a person they like, and they sort of just like start to emulate that person. So when you see those people that are in those positions of power or like a mentorship and they're like not teaching that person everything, it's like, fuck you. Why are you doing that? Why are you trying to hold yourself up to a certain standard instead of bringing everybody? There's plenty of work. There's plenty of money to go around. Like we can all share it. It's like a rising tide lifts all boats. And that's how I live my life when I can. I'm not perfect, but I'm just so happy to hear that, somebody was able to kind of step in and be like, or at least people in the industry, not necessarily just Dan, but other people were willing to say, hey, here's how you do this, or here's these things, right? And it's like, we want to see you succeed. Yeah. We're not viewing you as competition, which is awesome.
And I've had such awesome success and support with that. Grant over at Smiley Cafe, that's where we get a lot of our baked goods. And he came in one day, I don't even remember why, just to say hi. And I was slammed. I had like all these volleyball players or whatever sports team was in there. And it's just me. I'm like, okay, here we go. He literally jumped behind the bar. He goes, I got the register. You make the drinks. I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
and so he watched and we rocked it out, And then afterwards, he's like, I got some pointers, Liz. And he like showed me how to work my machine better, my espresso machine better. He timed it all out. So we just push a button now. Like, he's like, all right, let's do training on your my POS. I'm like, oh yeah, man. And then we got together, actually, him and another girl from Farmington who has a shop, and we go and have dinner and like communicate and, bounce ideas off of each other. And it's been a great community. We got a new shop. She doesn't like to be called a coffee shop because she doesn't have an espresso machine, but she sells coffee and like breakfast and pastries and stuff. But over in Ignacio, Rise and Shine.
Okay.
So I've just gotten in touch with her, and she is the coolest chick. Like, I took my little girl in there the other day. We went and got a whole bunch of goodies and did a picnic and stuff. And that's what it's about, Like, this shit's scary. You get out there on your own and you think you got it. Like, I'm so smart. I got this,
Sure. Yeah, it's just coffee.
Fuck no. Fuck no. It's intense. So you really need those people who can, even if they don't have the answer, go, fuck it, we learned something,
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm glad to hear that you're given a place for people in recovery to kind of go to, whether they're in the AA program or whatever the case scenario is. Because I don't know, it's like my dad is I've talked about it many times, but he was in that program for years, my entire life growing up, and so there was always spots, and you kind of have different meetings throughout the times of the day. And you're good, it's all good.
Your stuff.
Trust me, it's been hit. That camera's been smacked before. Thank you, Ryan. It's all good. Yeah, so it's like it's good to know that there's a spot, because I don't know if that there was another spot in Bayfield, right? You got to drive, and so having seen people in my life kind of go to that, like sometimes when you're really in recovery, it feels like from an outsider's perspective, it's like that support mechanism can be the difference of whether you break your sobriety that day, that moment, that hour, that minute. And so, a lot of them, like in Durango, they'll have meetings throughout the day,
Yep.
and people kind of know, okay, if I'm feeling it, I can go there. Some people that look upon it don't really understand that it could be at a moment, right? It could be, I can't deal with the stress, and it's way easier to go to a bottle, or it's way easier to go to a drug than it would be to deal with the stress. But if I could go to a meeting in the next 30 minutes, I'll be good. Right. So even if you don't have meetings every hour on the hour, to know that there's a space like, hey, like, I'm not saying that you're out there being a sponsor. Like, don't go into Lizzy Q and be like, hey, Liz, I need you to talk me off a fucking cliff here,
Right,
But,
and do it. Because that helps me just as much as it might help someone else, maybe more, and like, to be completely selfish. Yes, the goal was to have meetings there. But starting the coffee shop, being a mom, working, doing all these things, living in Ignacio, I don't want to drive to Durango every night and go to a meeting. So I wasn't making my meetings. So yeah, it's awesome. I get to offer this cool thing to people in recovery out here, and I get to hit my meetings, And so like, that's the selfish side of it, but it's also like, we stay sober because we have our community, we have our people. And it's just been awesome. The first month or whatever of meetings, it was just me and another person.
Yeah.
And sometimes those are the best meetings because it's so personal.
Sure. Absolutely.
And now we've got a good group going in there, and it's home. It's like you're safe, okay. And there's days like I chair some of the meetings or a lot of the meetings, and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do this tonight. I'm so tired. And by the time I leave, I'm like, geez, I needed that. Like
Sure.
that was so good. So
Yeah.
it's really awesome. And a lot of people don't need meetings, and there's a lot of other options outside of AA. But for me, I needed that like written on the wall. This is what you got to do because I'm an asshole. If I can screw it up or do it my way, I'm gonna try it.
Sure.
And I mean, I did that for years and it didn't work. So I needed that. This is what you do. Here it is. Here's your guideline. Do this.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the most popular recovery programs in the world because of that reason, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that, at least from what I've seen and what I've experienced, us being in the Al-Anon side of it, right? Where we're not the addicts, but we're living through somebody who's having to go to AA constantly, right? You kind of see that different side of it to where it's almost like every addict has to hit rock bottom, and whatever their rock bottom is at that point in their life, it's hard to define what that rock bottom is. Sometimes it's crashing and burning. Sometimes it's just burning every bridge that you ever crossed. And other times it doesn't have to be that negative or that low for other people to go, man, an about face and kind of get it figured out. But the thing of it is like that program is set in stone. And the people that need it the most, it's like it's there for that reason. It's a proven path work. And sometimes if you look at it from an outsider perspective, or with like I recently stopped drinking in July, and I feel so good about my life, and I've talked about it so much. But it was just a choice that I made, right? And whether I do think that I was addicted to alcohol in a sense, but I wasn't like crashing and burning. I was like a high functioning alcoholic if I was. But the thing of it is like for some people, they look at that program and they go, oh, okay, there's a huge God element. Oh, there's a huge 12-step element. Oh, there's a huge like recovery and apology and repenting for your sins element. And they go, it's not for me. And that's fine. It might not be for everybody, but it damn sure is for some people. And sometimes that community, even if those people in AA don't go to church or they're not religious, that religious aspect of bringing a community together can help people tell themselves like, okay, I'm not the only one who's a fuck up. I'm not the only one who's going through this. And if I'm not the only one who's going through this and somebody else is, then I can relate to them and they are staying sober. And if they can stay sober, then I can stay sober. And so it's like that community that you're building, that community that has been built, that program, even though it's like so regimented, it's regimented for a reason because
and it works.
It works. But a person that has that addictive tendency needs that.
Yep.
They were clearly regimented in destruction, right?
Yep.
And they were clearly regimented, I'm going to start drinking at this time every day, whether they subliminally did it and picked up a bottle. It's like, there's rules to that life. There's rules to not living in that life too. And it's like, so they seem rigid and they seem so structured, but they're there for a reason. So I'm so happy to hear that, even though it's a small little community like that little small bubble of community literally can save somebody's life.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I don't know if there's another way to say it. Like, I mean, we've had so many people, I don't even know how you and I know each other or if we actually know each other. Like in the real world.
I don't know how either.
I mean,
like I know we do.
We know people that know each other.
Yeah.
So
maybe that's it. That's it.
Yeah. But I mean, how many people in the last 5 years have died from drugs that we know, right? It's a shit ton. It's a lot. It's super sad, super depressing. Some of them are really, really good friends. And it was like to see people kind of go into that life and you go, oh no, you shouldn't do that. And it's like, you start to think of it in like a time aspect, right? Like Eric, for instance, right? I witnessed Eric. So Eric was the bass player in our band for the last almost 2 years of our band, right?
How did I not know that? See, I used to go to your shows all the time and see Eric. And it's so funny because my fiance was really great friends with Jason, right? They were best friends. And never knew John, like not through Jason, not through Eric, not through any of this shit until like fucking 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
You know,
That's
it's
good.
wild. It's
It's a
wild. I didn't know
crazy-
that about you.
Crazy small circle. But yeah, so I mean, I witnessed Eric, obviously the situation that happened with Jason was horrible. It impacted Eric so much. I mean, I
Yeah.
witnessed him on Jason's birthdays drink a handle of vodka because he couldn't get through it, right? But he just needed to do that. It was like, I don't care what I've got in the world. I don't care about the job. I don't care. Everything is pushed to the side. I'm dealing with this today.
And you get it, right?
Yeah.
Like that fucking level of pain, that level
Yeah.
of, you got to shut that shit up because it's hard. Like
Yeah.
that's been the hardest thing in recovery is learning how to breathe. Like this is life on life's terms. I just lost this person and I've got to deal with it and I can't fucking get obliterated.
Yeah.
It's wild.
But the big thing too with Eric is like, he didn't want to admit to himself that he was an addict, right? Whether it was out, and he was a full-blown alcoholic. I love him to death. I've had some of the best times in my life with Eric.
Agreed.
I love him more than most people. I mean, I just, not love him more, but I love him more than most people I did in my life. And he was like hell in a fucking handbasket. But
He was so cool.
He was so much. It was so much
cool.
fun. You never knew what was going to happen, but you could see it was a Molotov cocktail. But he swore and never would do, that type of hard drug that took Jason, right? Never. And then it was one moment at a party in Denver and he OD'd that night. And we go to pick him up. I finally hear from him in the morning. He's at this party with another one of our friends. And I'm like getting text messages. Where the fuck is Eric? We have a show in Colorado Springs. We're living in Denver. And, he's like, hey, bro, I'm walking. I'm like, where are you at? And he's on the north side of Denver. I mean, he's an hour and a half away in the suburbs. And so, anyways, I go to pick him up and I'm like, what's up, dude? And he's like fidgeting with his chest. I'm like, well, are you okay? What's going on? He's like, no, dude. He's like, they took me to the hospital. I OD'd last night. He's like, I didn't want them to like report it. So he's like, I ended up pulling the plugs and ran out of the hospital. And like literally, he's in a hospital gown. I have to go back to his apartment and get pants. And he's got like the monitor still glued to him and he's ripping them off. And I'm like, that's the first time. OD, swears off of it again, right?
Yeah.
I saw him. So the band kind of disbanded up there. I needed a break. I was so burnt out on music. I saw, I left Denver. We ended up having a baby. Bumped into Eric at Ronnie's house, right? Bumped into Eric. We all watched the fights. He's doing really good, but something seems a little bit off, and I'm like, what's going on? Super, super crazy. And then, it was like the signs were there, but they weren't like there, right? It's like something's off. I knew that Eric didn't want to be back here in Durango. And
But
then,
what is it?
yeah, it's like, what is going on? Bam. News like Eric OD'd. I'm like, okay, is he okay? Like, no, he's fucking dead. And it was like, what the fuck, and that Eric is the exact person that I'm talking about, that he's not an alcoholic, but somebody else over here that's fucking up their life and destroying it, right? They're the alcoholic. I'm not the drug addict. Those people that are destroying their lives,
Well, and for him, it was still so fun. It was still a party. It was still, he didn't have anything to lose back then, Like I didn't, we don't have anything to lose until we have something to lose. So what are we going to change for? It's still fun.
Yeah.
It's still a party. We don't see, we don't see our moms crying. And by the way, like Janice is going to be watching this, so I love you, Janice, and
I love her too.
And I fucking love you.
Don't forget. Hey, how many times did I bail Eric out of jail in Denver? Right. It's like I love you too. I love you too, and I love Jason. But I'm just being real on this show, and it's like
for real.
It destroyed me. Every single one of those people, when it was Eric, when it was Ronnie, when it was Jake, when it was
all of them.
It's like none of them had the ability to step in and be like, I need fucking help. Because there's a stigma around it. Like if you say you need help,
you're weak and you're a failure and what the fuck is wrong with you? Just stop.
Yeah, the party stops. The party stops, right?
Yep.
It's like, well, fuck the party. Yep. If you didn't give a shit about the party anymore, you'd still be here.
It's true. It's true. When you quit drinking, did you have like an identity crisis? Were you like, who the fuck am I without this?
Yeah, for sure. And like, I'll just say like, because I was nowhere near an alcoholic like some are, right? But I was drinking every day. And it was maybe like 4 or 5, 6 White Claws, right? Or a shot of vodka and some White Claws. I was trying to keep the weight off, I think. But no, but I was like, a couple of shooters, a couple of White Claws, Tall Boy. And the next thing I know, I'm like 8 beers steep on a weeknight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? So yeah, when I stopped, I had some weird like withdrawal type things. And then I had this weird, like, I bet if I could go back to that moment and like watch myself from outside perspective, I was probably super awkward to my family, super awkward to my kids, my wife, but they were there for me, right? They kind of knew that I was wanting to stop drinking. So they just kind of, I don't know, maybe I was short tempered. I don't remember anything specific, but like I remember a few days after stopping drinking, like trying to hang out with people. And I was like, I can't fucking be here.
Yep.
Like, I don't know who I am in this moment.
Being
like,
in your own skin
it was,
and feeling the shit and having a conversation. Like I'm so super socially awkward just in general.
Yeah.
So for me, drinking and drugging, it was like, fucking hi, I can be as goofy as I want,
Sure.
And now sober, I'm still fucking goofy, but I rock it. I'm like, all right, this is what we're doing today. And if, people respond with like, oh, what a weirdo. Well,
yeah.
all right, that's your gig,
that's
I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna laugh at myself some more.
Sure.
So
yeah, no, that is. I think that's the hardest. I think that might be one of the hardest things is like somebody not drinking or not doing drugs and not realizing that they can still be themselves in the moment and even at the party.
yeah,
But
and then
it's
you remember
it's so hard to go into those environments and not go, do lines in the bathroom and not go and have beers at the bar or shots or whatever and be the life, because it is fun. And like, honestly, I've known Eric, like I've known him, I knew him and know him for so long. Right. And one of my favorite memories of Eric, and that has nothing to do with drugs, this was before we were all partying, is like, so for those of you that don't live in Bayfield, there's a hill by the high school. It's called Sauceman Hill. And Eric and I used to skate all the time. Right. So Eric was riding behind me in like a little bitty Ford Ranger that I used to have. It was a piece of shit truck. And I'm bombing down Sauceman on a skateboard and I got speed wobble, right? So the board starts shifting back and forth and it launches me. And I was probably going 30 miles an hour and I just tuck and rolled, rolled so much. Like I road rashed both shoulders, ripped my pants off. And I'm like lying on my back. And Eric, like for those of you that don't know him, I'm going to try and do the very best, like, Eric impression I can right now. Right?
Don't make me cry.
I'm looking up at the sky, like in just absolute fucking pain. And he comes over like, dude, bro, that fucking sucked. You want a cigarette? I'm like, yes, I need a fucking cigarette. Right. But I mean, Eric and I were super close and like Eric was always the life of the party. And if you couldn't get to Eric's level to be the life of the party, like you wanted to share in that fun with him. But at some point you started to realize like, hey man, like being the life of the party is getting a little bit old. Like you don't always have to be the craziest fucker here. Like you can just maybe like just back away from it for a second. But I truly don't think Eric could identify himself any longer without being the life of the party.
He had gotten in trouble one time. And so he was on testing and shit. And I mean, I worked with his mom, so I got to see him like every day, But even then, he was the life of the party. Like, he was just fucking cool. Yeah. Everything that came out of that kid's mouth was butter. It was just so smooth. Like, he was the epitome of just cool. Like, he was so free. He was, and I mean, obviously not, but he was so just, fuck, dude, here I am, And
it's fucking roll, dude.
Yes. Yes.
I love him, man. I miss him dearly. I really do. He was awesome. But, getting back, I think kind of to a loose point is like, I'm glad that you're building the community because it's weird in a small town. Nobody wants to admit that there's drugs or that people in the town have a problem with drugs or alcohol, right?
It drives me insane.
And it's obviously part of it is to preserve that innocence of a small rural town in Colorado, right? And I get that. We don't want to. It's the same thing with when you see a homeless person, right? In our small little community, people are like, what the fuck are they doing here?
Yeah.
They're supposed to be in Durango. They're supposed to be in Denver, not here. And I think that's an asinine way to look at life. I mean, if you just put blinders to the fact like, okay, well, here's the deal. If we don't have a drug problem, then why are we giving out Narcan at the junior high level, right? I say junior high, I'm from Louisiana. So what is it? Middle school, at the middle school level. Like, all right, so clearly we've got a problem. every teacher in the schools has Narcan just in case. And it's awesome, right? It's a great preventative thing if God forbid something happens. But I think that by keeping those blinders on, we're just elongating the problem, right? The inevitable is going to happen. So it's like when we finally can admit to ourselves, like, hey, we do have a drug problem. I'm not saying we're creating the drug problem, but it is coming into our community.
Acknowledge it. I have a really hard time with Bayfield in that aspect. We've done Narcan trainings at the shop. We've done a few. I carry Narcan at the shop. Not because I think someone's going to come in and overdose and die on my floor, but because someone's little sister might be worried about their big brother who came home fucked up last night and comes home tomorrow night and he's dead.
Mhm.
You know, I'd much rather have someone have that Narcan than not.
Yeah.
You know, it's here. What's crazy to me is a lot of the people that I know personally, that I love, that I care for, who have overdosed, have been from Bayfield. And it's so like, let's just turn a blind eye. It's not happening here. It is happening here. And it's not anyone's fault.
Mhm.
It's part of the world we live in now. Get educated. Get educated. You don't have to agree with it. People all the time are like, oh, Narcan, that's saying it's okay to overdose on this. No, it's not. It's saving your son's life. It's saving your best friend's life. Like, have a little fucking compassion. I would much rather be like, I had to shove this fucking shit up my kid's nose and spray some shit in there, but he's here today.
Yeah.
Then I have to bury another friend, you know? It's wild. It's really wild to me. And I guess, you know, I've lived the life. You know, we've seen it. I've been around it all my life. So nothing's surprising anymore. You know, it's not a shocker anymore to see someone messed up on something.
Mhm.
I would much rather be like, hey, been there, done that, or I haven't been there and done that, but I know someone who has. Let's get you some help.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's fucking huge problems with it. It's really weird, you know. It's like you hit a nail. You know, there's times where you start to get numb to it, and I think that it's unfortunate because, you know, it's like I can count 6 people that I know that have overdosed, right, and died.
Right.
Not just overdosed, but OD'd and died, and they were young and they were this, that, and the other. But it's like it's happening so much. Or it happened so much, you start to kind of like almost get numb to it. It's like it doesn't surprise you,
It's
and you're
not a
like, oh, I saw that
surprise.
coming, and then you kind of reel away from that a couple months later, and you're like, damn, okay, what more could I have done? And from an outsider's perspective, it's like, especially when I had kids, like when you have kids, your job becomes the protector, right?
Mhm.
And you can't allow yourself to be in that lifestyle anymore, because you won't be able to protect your children adequately, right? And so it's like you have to kind of move away. And when I got out of, you know, I wasn't in that lifestyle, I wasn't taking hard drugs, but I was damn sure around it all the fucking time. Roommates, parties, it didn't matter, right? It was there. But I had to get away from that life. And that was completely when I had children. And but the thing of it is like, everybody was in the party. Everybody was having fun. I mean, you know, you go play a show at a bar and like, guess what? Party favors are coming your way after, man, the show was so good. It was so awesome. Boom, let's do lines in the bathroom. You know, whatever the case scenario is, it's like, it's coming your way. It's your decision whether you do it or not. But I had to move from that life, and I stopped associating with everybody, even the friends that weren't really involved in that life. They were,
You have to.
He was like, I can't, my job is over here. Like, I got to protect these little kids that are mine. And it was really weird. Like, some of the people that were still in that life that were around after, like, let's say the first person died. And I really don't want to bring up names, but I do want to tell this story because I've been struggling with this for a long time, a lot of years. You know, when the first of those friends died, it was a huge, but I saw it coming for years. Tried to help. Constantly, other friends tried to help. And then when it happened, like, relatives of that person were angry with me. Like he looked up to you so much. Why couldn't you have done something? Why didn't you step in? To a point to where when I was at a party, you know, without my children there with my wife, a Halloween party, it was like this person wanted to fight me. Literally, we went outside and being like, angry at themselves or angry at the situation of the loss of their brother that they wanted to fight me. And it was like, look, if you need to do this, if you need to fight me to get this off of your chest because you can't tell yourself that you are physical flesh and blood and you can't take onus in the fact that you also didn't do anything and we all lost this person, then let's fight. And let's let you just get this out of your system, right? And ultimately we didn't end up fighting, but it 100,000% ruined my relationship with that person because I didn't know how to get back. I didn't have the ability at that point in my life to go, I forgive you because you were in a moment of absolute pain and despair. And I still needed to be there for that person. But I looked at it as a sense of like, you know what? It's not my responsibility. And it's not to protect another person. I have the people that I'm liable for. You have the people that you're liable for, right? You're flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really hard when you look at that after, and that person also passed away.
Oh, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I knew that was affecting that person harder than they ever let on. I didn't know that what was going on. It was a total surprise to everybody. It's like, boom, lights out. And it was like, oh shit, this has been hidden in the closet for years.
You're talking about.
Yeah. But the reality of it is like, I didn't know that. I didn't have control. And you have to understand, like, I wish that there would have been a moment that like, he could have told himself, this is not your fault. This is not my fault. I didn't do this to my brother. Yeah. I didn't do this. I wasn't the one. And it's unfortunate. But the thing of it is everybody lost that person. And it fucking rocked that small community.
Yeah.
I mean, dearly. But it destroyed me when it was like, you should have done something. And I'm like, I moved myself out of that life. I pulled away because I have two people and a wife that I'm responsible for. I know what that life can do. I know what it did to you. I know what it done to all these other people. So I think about it often. And I think about that moment. I think about the argument because I was actually oddly enough sober at a Halloween party because everybody else was fucked up. And it was like, okay, I don't want to get drunk because, and then this all happened. So I remember it so clearly. And it was just like, what do you do in that situation, in that scenario? You're like, you just take onus? Like, okay, well, I didn't jump in. I didn't save your brother. I didn't say enough to him. I get, you know what I mean? It's a weird feeling.
So the truth of it though, is you could have jumped in a million times. If that person's not ready, that person's not ready. I can't tell you how many phone calls I got. My big sister didn't speak to me for 2 years in active addiction because she couldn't fucking handle it anymore. My grandma called me crying. My grandma, like, we're strong women. We don't cry. My grandma called me crying, like, you have a problem. And I still kept going. You can talk to people all you want. You can have the answers all you want. But until you're ready to make that choice or that person's ready to make that choice, they're going to keep going. And that's the shitty thing, like my mom was a meth addict for 20 years, all through growing up. She had these babies. She didn't know what to do with them, She chose to do this drug, and my mom's a saint. I love her to death. She'll have 13 years sober in March. But you don't know what you don't know. And luckily for us, we got sober.
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody has that opportunity. And it sucks. Oh my God, it sucks. Like the survivor's guilt, when you have someone, when you're sober and your friend fucking dies from this shit. And you're like, why? Why didn't that happen to me, 3 years ago when I was doing the same thing with them? It's wild, but it's not up to me to save you. And that sucks. That sucks. I can tell you that I'm happy. I can tell you that I love my life. I can tell you how I did it. I can be your friend. I can be your shoulder, but I can't make you get clean. And it sucks. And it's easier to be mad at someone over it than, accept that. Like this person had a choice.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been struggling with that for a long time. I'm glad you say that. Yeah. I mean, people do. It has to be their own decision. And whatever brings about that decision, I think is going to be different in everybody's path, and it's unfortunate when somebody meets their maker before they hit that rock bottom. That's why I go back to when I first said, it's like, whatever their rock bottom is, I don't know.
And it's so different. Everyone is so different.
Yeah. But that you have to make that personal choice. And that's unfortunate because, I mean, addiction is hard, but I think if somebody needs help, I think the biggest thing, is the general public having, like you say, having some fucking compassion. Don't write a person off just because they're doing something stupid in the moment. Like, you don't know what got that person there. It could have been totally just messing around and all of a sudden they got something, they picked it up and they're addicted to it. Or it could be that they've struggled from something their whole life and this thing is alleviating them from thinking about that. Doesn't mean that person's doing the right thing or they're not addressing the root cause, but don't write them off. I mean, we had a lieutenant come on the show and talk about his experience, with, he was a DEA agent or actually he's part of the drug task force, but his words were so powerful. And he was just like, we have to, as a society, have some fucking compassion. And that was if a police officer who's out here arresting people on a daily basis, working through cases that are massive, massive amounts of drugs, can also say, look, people get addicted to this stuff. We still have to help them, but we also need to stop it. We need to stop it from being trafficked in. If a police officer whose daily interaction is with the worst offenders can say, we have to have some fucking compassion.
Yeah.
We need to, as a society, we need to stop, because when you push that person away, they're going to dive deeper, because
Agreed.
The loneliness of being pushed away is just going to add to that, that negative spiral that they're already in. So have some fucking compassion and give people the opportunity to be a part of a community. They may come into 1,000 AA meetings and be using. I saw that. So, I mean, how many,
that,
yeah.
yeah. I've been that.
I'm going to get sober, but you take a shot right before you go in, or you do a line, or you do whatever right before you go, because
you just go ahead and love that person.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Because it can be you. It can be your son. It can be your daughter. It can be your mom. It can be, the drugs and alcohol, there's no prejudice, there's no, oh, Liz is cute, we're not going to go get her, or, Kyle's got babies, we're going to leave him alone. It doesn't work that way. It's, hold on, buddy, here we go.
And you don't realize it till you realize it, and it's usually weird. I'm so thankful that me wanting to stop drinking was after probably one of the best nights I've ever had with my wife. And it wasn't a crash and burn. It wasn't anything. I just kind of woke up and was like, okay, that was it. You need to stop this on the highest note possible, let's roll with it. But I also realized that I am an addict. I have a highly addictive tendency, or a highly addictive personality. And for me, it was I had to supplement, you had to supplement for like, right? Doesn't have to be another drug or an alcohol, but something's got to fill the void, right?
It falls to the walls, right?
Yeah.
There's no happy medium.
No. Which you know what? If you can replace it with something positive, fucking more power to you, Mine's working out and getting my shit together. It's
you look good. You're
trying.
Yeah,
I still got a long ways to go, but it's I had to hit it. I had to be look, if I don't do something, I'm going to keep drinking. I'm going to keep doing this.
You have to find something bigger than that. Yep. I was fortunate. I tried to get sober so many times. I had gotten in trouble with the law a couple of times, made really shitty choices, hurt a lot of people, hurt myself, and I could not get sober. I mentioned earlier, I had married a guy I had barely known, and we were married for 3 years, and it was a fucking shit show, obviously. But I came back to Durango, and it was Liz, you're going to fucking die. You're going to die. This is it. You get to figure your shit out. And I'd get sober for 6 weeks, and I'd relapse, and 6 weeks, and I'd relapse. And then I got sober for a couple of weeks. I got so sick, and I was like, fuck, dude, this detox shit is for the birds. This is terrible. And I was talking to my sponsor, and she's like, baby girl, you need to get a pregnancy test. I'm like, you're high. I don't get pregnant. That's not a thing, And I was talking to one of my guy friends, and he's like, baby, you don't detox this long. Go get a pregnancy test. And I did, and I got pregnant. For me, that was it. It was okay, it's not about me anymore. It's about this life growing inside of me. And every day, Ariana, that girl saves my life, But when I couldn't take care of myself, like I remember my sponsor told me, God did for you what you couldn't do for yourself. And it's true. I can't say that I would be sober. I can't say that I would be alive had I not become a mom, had I had not had this little innocent life inside of me and me going, all right, baby girl, we got this. Let's go, And so I got really lucky. I didn't have, I had the lows, I had the bottoms, It was scary, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
It had to be something so much bigger than me. And that little girl was it, and that was, I love it. I get goosebumps. It's like this little thing just came and was like, all right, we're done.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
They are powerful.
Beautiful.
They are. They will. Oh my God. Yes. Kids are, it was so funny. I bumped into, do you know Nick Anderson? He was friends with Ronnie.
I don't.
Friends with Dan, not Dan's work, but Dan Rohde. Do you know? So Ronnie and Nick were super close. But anyway, so, Nick recently just had a baby. And, forever Nick had dogs and all this shit, right? And you like all the dog lovers out there, you can tell yourself all you want that you have children and their dogs. They just happen to be the canine,
Just
that is
wait.
bullshit, So I was teasing him the other day. I was like, hey, yeah, is that like a dog? He's like, oh, dude, that dog can fucking go outside. If this dog messes with my kid, he is gone. You know what I mean? I was like, it changes your life. And it was really good to catch up with him at a wedding the other day. And I hadn't seen him for a while, at least long enough to like talk for a few hours. And yeah, just, it's like you don't know until everybody tells you, oh, when you have kids, it's this, right? But when you're experiencing it, it's like it is life changing for the better if you allow it, right? I know that not everybody wants a kid and not everybody deserves to have a kid, but those of us that do get lucky enough to have a kid and have the enjoyment of having it, it is fucking life changing. It is so special and so powerful. And it will make you do things that you never thought you could.
And you'll love it.
Yeah. In a weird way. You may hate it in the moment, right? But,
it's great. I know. I was that person. I never wanted kids. I hated kids. I don't want anything to do with kids. And I'd been married. I had sex, here and there. Never got pregnant.
Yeah.
I didn't think I could have kids. And then, boom, you're having a kid. I was like, what the fuck do I do with this? But it's cool. I still don't have a clue what I'm doing. It's day by day, but she's cool, man. Yeah. She's so cool.
How old is she?
She just turned 7.
Oh, that's funny. My daughter's 8. What grade?
Second grade.
Oh, okay.
Second grade. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the best.
It's a fun age. I think every age is awesome. I just had a buddy on, there's no rule book. You never,
you have idea.
No clue until you're in the moment. And everybody can tell you, oh, this, and this. But when you experience it, you're like, it's like a boiling pot on the stove. You're like, fuck. And if you just turn off the fire, right, we'd all be good. But,
but there's more fire.
Yeah. What's going on? Yeah. Kids are an absolute trip. And it's, I enjoy it. It's weird. It's like, I've had a lot of people recently, and talk to me like honestly, and be like, well, what are you doing for fun? And like a lot of my fun is things that the kids do, it's like, cause I feel like I was like in this like, brain, mindset, like highly functioning alcoholic to where I was like always just a little bit fuzzy. Right. And now I'm like, I'm in it. Like I can see it clear as day and I'm enjoying it. I'm laughing again. It took like 2 months to be able to fucking laugh.
Yeah.
I was like, who are you?
Have you cried yet?
Oh, so I had my cries way. I've talked about it ad nauseum on this podcast, but yeah, I went through a huge bout of depression when we were in Texas in 2019. I moved back here, and that was like the first time like that I had like broke down. But this was all before I stopped drinking. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've had like a heart-wrenching cry since I've been sober, but I'm ready for it. If it wants to bring itself, but like for me is like opening up that little vessel in Texas turned me into a total wimp. It's like there for like months after I'd be watching a movie where a dog like dies and I'm like fucking getting up from the couch because I don't want the kids to see me crying, like wiping the tears. Like they're like, what's up? I was like, man, fucking ate something spicy.
I love it. I don't do good. Like I've never been a crier. getting sober, I happy cry.
Yeah.
Like John and I will be riding down the road and I'll just be like, oh man, our kids are in the back. Everyone's getting along and we're going to go buy a peach pie. Oh my God, we're going to go buy a peach pie and we're going to have it together tonight. Like, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
John will laugh at me because I'm not a crier and he'll be like, are you crying?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm happy.
Yeah, this is
I'm
a happy cry. This is good cheers. Yeah, I'm. I haven't had it just yet, but I'm smiling, and I said this a couple of episodes ago, but I'm finally smiling inside again. It's been a long time. I think I was just a little bit numb to it, and life kind of takes you through all these trials and tribulations, and you just bottle them up, and then you're putting alcohol or drugs on top of it, and it's kind of like, even if you don't hit that breaking point, you're just kind of floating through life a little bit numb.
Yeah.
And there's some laughing moments and some things that I can definitely remember and love. But it's like I'm kind of looking at it through a little bit of a different sort of a lens, right? Just a little bit more focused, right? I mean, I still saw the picture. I've still got all the memories. But right now I'm just enjoying kind of seeing those without diluting them with any type of abuse, like alcohol abuse.
Fully present.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing. It's the coolest thing. You hit so many feelings you didn't even know that you were able to hit, and the appreciation. Like I pray every night. I'm not a super religious person, but I go to bed and I like, God, I gotta be Ariana's mom, and I gotta be John's girl, and I gotta go open the shop, and so many of the like little things. Sky's blue today, we take advantage of that, or we take that for granted, and it's a whole new appreciation. Just being able to be like, "Fuck, that's good," like, and it's just stupid little things, and you're like, "Wow, this is my life," like pretty cool, pretty cool.
How long have you been sober?
I'll have 8 years sober in January, on January 4th, from alcohol, and I'm at 8 years from from alcohol and opiates. I'll have 8 years in January. From cocaine, I'm at 8 years.
Nice.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You ever? So this is kind of I don't really know how to answer this. I'm going to just say something, and then maybe the question I'm trying to think of will come of it. But like my dad was sober for 20 years,
Mhm.
and he's not like an addict, but right, he's also in his late 70s. And at a certain point in my adult life, he was kind of just like, I would like to have a drink.
Mhm.
I was like, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're 70 years old. You can do whatever the fuck you want,
Yep.
Doesn't have a whole lot of friends anymore. It's like him and my mom. But then he kind of started drinking again. And then all of a sudden, and he told me, acknowledged, he's like, I was slipping a little bit. I need to, it was like, I don't need a drink at 5 o'clock,
Right.
and he's retired. He doesn't do anything. He's just at the house. And, but he kind of recognized that. And, but it was weird. It wasn't like a life scenario that just said that like broke him from that sobriety. It was a weird deal, but like, I'm just curious. Like I remember vivid points in my childhood for sure, where you could tell, like looking at it now as an adult through that kind of that framework, like clearly something was hard on him because he would go to more meetings, right?
Mhm.
He would be gone a little bit longer, and like not like gone for days, but he would be at more meetings, or he'd be involved with the biker community that's all sober, and he would just be there more present. So like looking at that now, I'm like, man, something must have been bothering him. Granted, yes, it's a community and it's a field, but like he's there for a reason, not just to hang out with people, because he didn't hang out with them outside of the meetings. It was just, and so I don't know what that breaking point for him ever was, but do you see that come into your purview sometimes? You're like, fuck, today was so hard. Like, and like ever think to yourself of like, I could just, and then it would prevent these feelings.
So yes and yes. First, let me say, life gets lifey.
Yeah.
Right. Shit gets hard. Shit gets heavy. And we do have to hit more meetings. John can tell when I'm not getting my, my spiritual food, my meetings in. He's like, babe, I need you to go to a meeting. And I'll go because he's absolutely right. I'm just not myself. I got to get, recalibrated in there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, I've wanted to relapse. Yes, I don't want to fucking feel these things. I lost someone very, very important to me in March, and 7 months later, it's still killing me. There's been a couple of times that I've wanted to drink. When my grandfather passed away, that was hard. We were best friends, and I went to my grandma's house. The whole family was there, and I told my mom, "Don't leave me alone. Don't let me go to the gas station. Don't let me get a pack of cigarettes. Do not let me leave this house by myself, and don't leave me in this house by myself because I will drink." So for me, it was knowing that was a real danger, and going, okay, I gotta fucking lean on someone.
Yeah.
When I found out that Chris died, that was a rough one. It is a rough one. So I got a call from a friend, and they told me, and I just lost my shit. I was on the phone with my big sister. I'm laughing, and I get this text, and oh my gosh. And I laughed, and I looked at John, and I'm sobbing. I'm like, I gotta leave. I'm not okay. I gotta leave. So he's like, I love you. Get in your car and drive. You call me when you get to where you're going. And I went and sat at the ranch where I grew up, where we put my papa's ashes, and I just cried. For the next 3 months, that's all I did was cry and get pissed off. And John was like, when I finally, I'm okay now. I still cry, but I'm hopefully not going to drink about it. John, after 3 months, was like, baby, I was scared. He was like, I did not think you were going to get through that one. He's like, I was not sure that you were going to be okay with that one. And there were times, oh my God, there were times where I was like, I cannot fucking feel this anymore.
Yeah.
And I got through it. I called my sponsor. I did not hit meetings like I should have, and that would have made all of this a lot easier. But I had that support because I have, I'm an open book when it comes to my recovery, when it comes to what's getting me, because I know my patterns. If I can't get it out, I'm going to get into that bottle, and you're not going to see me again for a long fucking time. And so John, it was very open, and it was very honest. The person that passed away is an ex-boyfriend, and we've got a history.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of history and a lot of love and a lot of hurt. So how do you go to your fiance and you're crying because your ex-boyfriend died, and he's going, all right, baby, get over here. Let it out. Let it out. It's okay. I love you. That's fucking wild,
Yeah.
I would like to think that I'd have the same reaction if John was crying over an ex-girlfriend, but I'd probably be like, what the hell's wrong with you, But it's just being open and knowing, these people love you. You're still human. You're still going to feel these things, and you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
And I'm such I got this. I'm an independent lady, and I don't need nobody. I got this. And being in this relationship, John's a gosh darn saint. Anyone who can put up with me can put up with some shit, But he's just he lets me be me. And the good, the bad, the ugly, he's right there. And drink, it comes up, you want to drink. I went to a baby shower. So I'm half Mexican, Mexicans party at baby showers, right?
Sure. You guys party at everything. Quinceañeras, baby showers, all of.
So I went to a baby shower in Vail, and I'm with all my family, and it's a great time, and I'm having a blast. I legit had to get up and leave and call my sponsor because I was like, I'm going to fucking drink, man.
Yeah.
John comes and finds me. He's like, we good? We good? I'm like, yeah. We're good now. We can go back. But it comes up, and the disease, it's so crazy. It comes up when you least expect it. I'm happy. I'm going to celebrate.
Yeah.
I'm sad. I'm going to drink it away. Whatever it is. That shit comes
It's
up.
almost like
and
you want to reward yourself.
Yeah.
By going back into the shit.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
So weird. The other night I was at a bachelor party, which oddly enough, the So the groom and a bunch of the groomsmen, I was invited to the bachelor party. I wasn't in the wedding, but a lot of them are sober, which was cool, right? So we did things like went to the golf course. They dressed like assholes. I play golf, so I just dressed like a normal golfer, which is still looking like an asshole. I did things that you could do sober, and it was weird. So we went to El Moro, and I was like, do you guys have like, I was like, I just want a tonic with lime, right? Like just something, because like when you're just hanging and some of the group is drinking, it's just kind of that like, almost like hand to mouth. Like it's just that vibe of like, it like gives you the liquid courage of like, I've got a block here. So like, if it's awkward, I can just take a sip and like you get through this thing. And so the guy, the waiter was like, he's like, yeah, what do you want? Just like house stuff or no, what did he say? He's like, you want just like well tonic, or do you want like, we've got like a house-made tonic, which is bomb. And so I was like, well, yeah. He's like, I was like, I don't want alcohol in it. It's like no gin, no vodka, no nothing. And he's like, dude, I'm telling you, it will taste like a vodka tonic. It is so fucking good. And I was like, all right, man. And he brought it over. I tasted it and it was like, oh, shit. Okay. All right. This is good.
Right.
But it was weird. It was like, I didn't feel like I was going to drink, but I also wanted to be like celebratory. But there was a part of me like at that night, like where it was like in my head, it was like I had 2 of those tonics and I was like, fuck, I could easily have a drink. And it could easily be a little bit more of a fun night for a few hours. It was like, I wasn't like jonesing for it, but it was like, I was in that was the first time I had gone into a bar. And we had a great dinner.
That's wild, right?
And it was weird. It was like I had gone and suffered through a camping trip. The second one was much better. Like I had hung out and played poker sober, drinking a whole bunch of LaCroix, right? It was weird. But that was the first time I had been at a bar. And it was like some of the group was drinking and they're like, man, I just had a great dinner. My one buddy's like, only drinks wine. He's basically sober other than that, but he had a steak and he's like, glass of wine. And I'm like, fuck, dude, I could one glass of wine, right? But I sat there for a second and I was drinking that last like tonic and I'm just like, I'm swirling the ice and I'm like, you are so much fucking better than this. You know that. You have been sober long enough to where you know that you don't want to feel like that anymore. And if you drink, I'm not saying that I'll never drink again, but I was like, if you drink in this moment, it's not going to have a profound impact on that event.
Right.
It's not like you're in fucking Italy and wine country.
Right.
You're not drinking a glass of wine, watching a sunset, with your wife. It's not an experience thing. It's, you just want it because it's a crutch at this moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so
feel a little more comfortable in your skin maybe
and
for
so I was
5
like,
minutes.
better than this. Like all that weight loss, all that everything, all that, addicted to working out and making yourself better and being the better. You're gonna admit to yourself and you're gonna prove to yourself, if you take one sip of this wine, you defeated everything. You're not gonna put back on 30 pounds. You're not gonna probably drink, but you're gonna tell yourself, if you take one sip, you basically lied to yourself.
Yep.
You've completely looked at yourself in the face and you lied in the mirror. And so I was like, you're better than this. And I just sat there for a second. I was like quiet. And I remember myself like thinking outwardly, like being like, you are. And I'm like looking at the glass and like one of the guys at the party is like, you good? I'm like, totally good, man. I'm fine. And it kind of brought me back into the moment. But I was like having it like in a conversation with my own self. And I was like, I needed that. I needed to push that comfort zone. I needed to prove to myself that I could go into a fucking bar and drink a glass of water, or I could drink a tonic water, right?
Yep.
And it was just like, I don't know. It was weird because I've been pulling myself away from activities.
Have you?
Because I need to, right? But also dabbling. Like I've gone back in and played poker with my buddies, drinking LaCroix, totally sober, totally fine. Did I have as much fun as I did when I was drinking, playing poker and smoking cigars? Probably not as much. But I was also in that weird, awkward phase of like, I just stopped drinking. I just stopped. Like, could I do it in 6 months? Absolutely. And have a good time. But I wasn't there mentally just yet. And I've gone camping and I've done these other things. And I'm slowly pressing my comfort zone because I'm like, look, you can't just not do these things in life, right? You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose family. You're going to lose all this stuff. And some of those people, it's not their problem that you're not drinking, right? If you can't handle your shit, it's not on them to not drink in front of you. Right. You have to be powerful enough in your own thoughts and your own body to say, I'm just not drinking. You guys do your thing. because I don't want to lose those friends. Some of them I cherish dearly. Some of them, fuck off. We're good.
Yeah.
I don't need them anymore. And I'm comfortable with that. That's fine. I mean, we'll shake hands, we'll give hugs, whatever. But like, I don't need to be in your daily life interacting. But some of these people, I need them because they've been there for me at my worst times, whether I was still drinking or not. Like in my moments of like absolute low, they were there.
Yep.
And I'm like, if you cut them out of your life, what kind of person and a human being are you? You need to be stronger than that.
You don't have to cut them out. You know, it gets easier. I can tell you all, like 98% of my friends are sober. 99%. My friends are sober.
New friends or old friends?
New friends.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of my old friends. I've got them on Facebook. I was just talking about this the other day. Like you get the happy birthdays, you get the hey, how are yous, and it's awesome, but it's not the same relationship. There's people I could go hang out with, go for a hike on, and I'm sure we'd have a good time. But it might be a little weird at the end of the day when you get in your car and you go home.
Yeah.
You don't go to the bar and get shit faced.
Yeah.
And like the still people, the still people that I used to hang out with who are still partying, still getting DUIs, still fucked up, still cheating on their boyfriends, still, I'm not still. Like I've risen above that. I have no interest in that anymore. And you grow in that, you find that the things that used to be so epic, you're like, what the hell was I doing?
Yeah.
Like, how stupid is that?
Yeah.
And it's wild. People drinking in front of me. I don't have that a lot. My family still drinks. Not a lot. They're normies. They can have a glass of wine instead
they can handle their shit.
a box of wine.
Sure.
But my grandma, I go visit my grandma. My grandma's just like the sweetest little thing. Growing up, she was like this ornery, terrifying woman.
Yeah.
But like old age has changed her into this awesome little old grandma, But she'll drink and she'll be like, Lizzy, is it gonna bother you if I have this wine? And I'm like, Grandma, I've been sober for 8 years. Like, you have at it. It's not gonna bother me. I will tell you, mocktails are my best friend.
What's a mocktail?
So it's like the drink without the drink.
Oh, gotcha.
But I was a whiskey girl. So whiskey and chase it with beer, right?
Okay.
So I know I'm not going to go buy NA whiskey.
Sure.
I'm not going to go buy NA tequila and make myself, like, I cannot taste those things.
Gotcha.
Because it's going to put me in a spiral and it's going to be a shit show. But I can totally have a virgin Paloma. I can have 17 virgin Palomas. Those things are so damn good.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's, you find your things. Like I've never, when I tried to get sober, I drank the near beers, the NA beers.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine having one right now. Like I think it would just like take me off the deep end.
Yeah.
Because I'm an all or nothing kind of girl,
Sure.
Well,
and that's weird because it's like the what is it? Not Dos Equis. Heineken makes one. It's like a 0.0. And it fucking tastes awesome. It tastes like a light beer. It tastes just like a Heineken. And I'm like, if it doesn't get you buzzed and you start, you're going to go search for that buzz. Like, what am I doing? I'm just putting in calories because I love that. Beer tastes like shit, right?
Yeah,
you drink it. Yeah, but you drink it, you love it because it gets you buzzed. But it's like, I agree with you 100%. It's like, I'd rather just drink a LaCroix on ice.
Yeah.
I'd rather drink a tonic on ice and be like, I'm good. I'm in this party. I'm in the mix. I'm able to be at a wedding. And man, I went to the first wedding, which it was always awkward, right? Everybody drinks at a wedding. I wanted to cut it down on the dance floor. There was an issue with like the PA speakers. It got rained on. They didn't have it. So it was like a boombox speaker and a bucket. And it was like, I couldn't dance. So that like, I do want to eventually go to another wedding and be like, I want to have fun. I want to be out there. Like I want to dance stupid to Michael Jackson, right? And act like a fool. And, but it's like, it was like, you could barely hear the music. And I was like, okay, this is fucking awkward. I need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
I got to trick myself into shit like that, because when I drank, I was a great dancer.
Sure.
I got the moves and I can't dance for shit.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous, but I'll still dance. But I got to talk myself into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I probably did back when I was drinking too.
Sure,
I just,
it was a little looser.
I
Right?
thought it was a little sexy when I was falling on the ground, Now I fall on the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Anyone see
Yeah,
that?
for sure.
So that stuff still that still takes some convincing for me.
Yeah. I think just constantly pushing those comfort, like, because I'm aware, you're way more aware of your comfort zone when you're sober.
Yeah.
Right? When you drink something, all of a sudden it's caution to the wind. You're like, man, all right, sweet.
Comfort zone.
There's the goosey. Let's do this shit. But when you know the comfort zone's there, I think it's good to kind of live in that center line of that yin yang. Like I'm going to press this boundary, right? Because I've got to be comfortable with this. You know, either I'm going to be weak and I can't do this, or I'm going to be strong and I'm going to tell myself I can still do this and have fun.
Yeah.
And you can be the life of the party and make jokes and stuff, and kind of still learning how to have a little bit of fun in some of these scenarios. But I think just constantly pressing them, you know what I mean? Like, where's my boundary? Like, where's my comfort level? Like, I'm good. I'm better than that.
Yep.
I'm better. I don't have to sit at the house because like I can't be around anybody that's not drinking.
Yep.
What am I gonna? No, I'm not gonna reduce myself to that.
Well, and that's the thing too, is the isolation, you know, then you get in your head and then
Yeah.
you want to drink or you want to whatever. And I was the queen of isolation when I got sober. I didn't want to be around anyone. I didn't like people. I was like, fuck, why are you breathing my air? You know? And I isolated like a son of a gun. My best friend Cruz, he would invite me to do things and I'm like, nah, bro, I'm good. Like, if you want to come up and hang out, watch a movie, like, let's do that.
Yeah.
And finally it was like homework. Like, okay, get out of the house, go grocery shopping.
Sure.
There was a long time I could not go grocery shopping without taking an anxiety med because I cannot handle people.
Yeah.
And now I still have my moments where I'm like, fuck, what is wrong with
Lock the door on the coffee shop. We're closed for
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. But it's a little more tolerable and I don't have to always take an anxiety pill. So
Sure.
it's a little better.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm getting slightly better with being less socially awkward. It's really weird though, because, and I don't know if you kind of experienced this when you first got sober, but I've always valued my time. Like my biggest pet peeve when somebody wastes my time.
Mhm.
Like I don't care what it is, because it automatically devalues you in their eyes. Right? Especially like if it's in a business dealing or a transaction, like the classic move is for whoever it is to come in late to the conference room, right? That automatically puts you down when you start to look at the sociology of how we work, right? When negotiations, if you make somebody wait, it's the entire reason why in a conference room or within an office room that there's a receptionist or an administrative desk. It bridges the gap from you being able to walk in the door and go straight to the conference. It immediately puts you down a level. That's what it's designed for.
Right.
Brilliant fucking thinking from somebody who was like, let's put a barrier here where they can't pass, right? They have to have our approval to come in here,
Yep.
which means that we're senior to whatever you want to do until we let you in our doors. But like when people waste my time, I can't stand it because time is so valuable. And it's like when somebody does that, it kills me. But what I'm noticing now is that I'm hyper aware of how I'm spending my time.
Mm-hmm.
And when something is taken away from it. So if something is in my life or in my purview that's not fun or is not rewarding or doesn't have a benefit to me for that amount of time, I'm fucking done with it. I'm like, I don't want to mess with this, right?
Isn't it cool though?
It is cool, but I think I try and put myself into other people's perspective and them being like, okay, do they think you're acting like an asshole? I might be, maybe, from an outsider's perspective, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm not going to get that moment back. You're taking that from me. So I'm going to go ahead and move over into this lane where I know that I'm going to be moving on this path or doing this or doing something that's going to be beneficial to me versus giving him my time that may or may not have a benefit.
Right.
It's really weird. I've been like outwardly observing myself do that. And sometimes I'm like, dude, just quit being a dick.
I don't
You
think
know?
it's a dick thing. I think it's okay to be selfish with your time. Like it takes a lot to get me out of my home life.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm not at work, I am with my family. And when I am with my family, I am with my family. I don't care what's going on over here. You know, I'm with Ariana today. This is what we're doing. Or I'm with John. Whatever it is. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think it's an awareness that we get to get about ourselves. Like, this doesn't actually jive for me. Maybe I didn't actually really like that.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
Maybe that's not my gig. And it's gonna happen with people too. You'll find like, I don't really like your energy.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And you become so okay with it. There's a girl I've been friends with for 25 years. I love this person. We have been like sisters. We have been through the ringer together. And we've hit a slump in our relationship where it's like, okay, we got to separate for a while. There is no lack of love there. I love you. And I can love you for more.
Mm-hmm.
And I can keep.
Yeah.
And that's something I've never really had, you know? There's times where I've been such a people pleaser, and now I'm able to go, if that's gonna fuck up my like psyche, I don't need it.
Yeah.
You know, I can be over here and I can wish you well. And I can watch you and I'll be a fan. And I'm gonna do that over here. And I'm gonna protect my peace. And it's the coolest thing. It's the coolest thing.
Yeah. You ever find yourself still like I guess I should say that I'm sort of a yes man, but not really a yes man. If you ask me to do something and I think or I know I can do it, most often I will do it.
Mm-hmm.
And especially now being sober, I am way less likely to say yes to it, even if I know I can do it. It agitates me so much. I still have a hard time saying no, especially if it means like in my line of work, you know, I do real estate for a living. And so when you say no, there's quantifiable measure to that, right?
Absolutely.
You lose money.
Absolutely.
But I think to keep honest with yourself and with your soul, you got to say no. Like, and it's a struggle for me, but I'm way more aware of saying no or willing to say no now that I'm stone cold sober. And I never had that before. I was always like, I don't know, maybe I was in my emotions and I was worried about where the money's coming from. And I still worry about that, right? I'm not rich by any means. Like we're still living day to day. We got to figure this shit out. I got to sell real estate. But especially when it's like a vibe, like if I don't get a good vibe from somebody, I'll just say no. No, I don't have time for that shit.
I think that's wonderful. I really do. I really do. I can be kind of a yes man too. I'm not like, my toxic trait is that I'm Liz Quezada and I hold the world on my shoulders.
Yeah.
And I don't need help. I got this. Oh, it's getting a little heavy. But I got this. And I got this. And then it all crashes, right? So learning to say no, learning to say, I'm sorry if this offends you, but this isn't working for me. It's still something I work on every day. And it's hard. But I think to really get to appreciate yourself, you know, get to appreciate life, get to enjoy life. Because when I'm holding this up, I got some resentments, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, this fucking guy.
Yeah.
Pick that up. Pick up that end. It's not that heavy, you know? And so then I get resentments and then I'm pissy and then why are you so mad? You're such a shitty person. I was like, why are you so mad about this? It's not even a big deal. You know, I think it's a balance, you know, it's life balance and learning to say no and be authentic, be true to yourself, you know, and fuck, I'll get there one day, you know?
That is so hard to be. We were just in a big, so we normally do like a big retreat. We'll go to Santa Fe, the Wells Group puts it on, right? We have the great speakers. And so this year being what real estate is, it's down. We don't have a ton of money in the bucket. And so we opted to do a retreat locally. And we had this thing yesterday. And this lady came in and spoke and she was really good. Her name is Amber Hurdle. And, you know, she talked about some stuff and part of it was like authenticity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, you know, it was like when I started getting these tattoos, I was 18 years old, right? I was in a rock band and I was like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is who I am. And then life changes a little bit, right? Then I started covering up my tattoos because I wanted to advance at work. Mm-hmm. And I worked in an industry within oil and gas where some of the senior guys were like, you know, if you got tattoos, clearly you're not intelligent. Clearly you're not this. And it was like like an impediment to where you couldn't breach it. And so I started covering it up and it was weird. It was like all of a sudden then I got the raises and I got this and all of a sudden I'm management and I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life. And so like in my brain, I started going like, all right, well, you got to hide this. You got to hide your true self in working hours. But outside of that, you can be who you are. And then when I started this podcast, I was working with a group that was going to do some of my social marketing and didn't work with them. That's a completely different story. But one of the things that the gal said was like, you need to be yourself. If you're going to have a single chance in the podcast world, you need to be 100% authentic who you are. And like people are going to read through your bullshit if you don't. And so every episode I've always shown my tattoos no matter what, because that is, but in part of that, it's allowed me to sort of do it in my public life as well. Like not public on the podcast, but like in my job, you know. And I do know that if you show up to a certain type of clientele and they see your tattoos, they're going to immediately judge you.
Yep.
But I fucking did this to myself, right?
And it meant something.
And I was 18, sure. I mean, it's been 20 years ago. I get it. But the reality of it is like nobody else forced me to do this. I did this to myself and it meant something. And you just got to be yourself. If that person judges you and they can't get past it, or you can't have a conversation and then realize that you're not a fucking idiot, that you know your job, that you're very good at your job, and that you could protect them in their best interests, then that judgment is never going to be put aside, right? It's just going to be what it is. So you got to move on to the next person. But it's taken me 17, 18 years to be like, okay, like, all right, you got to be comfortable with yourself. You got to be comfortable in your own skin. And it may be an uphill battle. Like, right, you live and breathe in an industry where most people show up in a suit. They show up in long sleeves. You can choose to do that. You've already proven yourself that you can advance if you hide who you are.
Now let's see who you are.
Yeah, let's see who you are and see if you can advance. And I'm finally, I think for the first time ever, comfortable with just being myself. Like I've shown up to meetings, short sleeve shirts. I went to golf tournaments, short sleeve shirts. And I'm like, you know what? It may cost me monetarily. It probably will. Probably already has. But that's just something I got to be comfortable with, because it's like, this is who you are. And you've got to take onus, not just on the podcast. You can't just be authentic on the podcast. You got to be the real version of yourself in public, in private, in family. And that's something that like, I don't know that I would have had the courage to do if I wasn't sober.
Right.
I could do it in here.
Do you know?
It's just me and you talking, right? But I couldn't do it.
Well, and I'm cool shit.
Yeah,
so.
fucking badass.
Do you know who the tattooed realtor is?
Yeah.
Out of Phoenix?
Oh, I'm sorry. So I know Chanel, the tattooed realtor in Grand Junction.
Okay.
She's a personal friend, but yeah.
There's the tattoo realtor in Phoenix. His name is Justin Mercer. He's a kid I went to high school with, or junior high. But he is covered. Head to toe. His eyelids are tattooed. His face is tattooed. Guy is blowing other realtors out of the water. And he's doing it because he's like, dude, I wanted to be a rapper. You know, I wanted to be in music videos. I wanted to be an actor. So I got all this done so I could fit this persona. And now he's like growing into himself, and he has all these ads and shit. And he's the goofiest guy in the world. Like you walk down an alley and you think he's going to shank you.
Yeah.
But he's not. He's going to sit there and do something stupid, and you guys are just going to laugh for hours. And like, it's so cool. When he got into real estate, some of the other local realtors out there, they were pissed. They're like, this guy's a fucking joke to the industry. To the industry.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he was like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
You know, if you're so great at what you're doing, why are you worried about what I'm doing?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's literally like, that's kind of like life motto for me now. I'm 38 years old. It took me this long to love myself. You know, I'm not going to let some little asshole with some little asshole opinion be like, well, you're not good enough, Liz. Well, fuck you.
Yeah.
You don't have to like me. I like me, bro. You know, that's powerful shit. When you can look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you're all right.
Yeah,
you're all right, Quezada. You know,
Yeah.
like that's powerful shit. And it's, you know, it's being authentic. It's knowing yourself. It's being okay with not being okay, you know, and
But she said
perfectly
something
imperfect.
yesterday that was like, it was weird. And granted, this was like a big conference speech, and they've got their whole spiel, and sometimes it's kind of cringe, but you know, she was like, here's the deal. What kind of real estate agent? And it was catered towards real estate. It was like, what kind of real estate agent are you? Are you going to be the agent that's like, oh man, there's all these freaking just giants of the industry that live in our office and breathe, and they're the best in the world, and say, poor me, and try and be better than them? She's like, and if that's the case, she's like, you're never going to be better than them. They've already got the wheelhouse of business. But what you can do is you can beat them or be just as good as them if you're different. Different is better than better, is what she told me. And I was like, damn, like there's some fucking legit value in that. Different is better than better. And you know what? I shared my podcast with her because I'll sit in a room and I'll just be quiet and listen and watch and just get the vibe of everybody, right? And I'm trying to learn. I'm not really outspoken when it comes to like a conference. It's not that I'm afraid. I fucking sang in front of 15,000. You know,
I'm
it's like,
afraid I ain't talking to no one.
no, it's like that doesn't bother me, but I'm very reserved. And at the very end of the conference, it was like open forum question, and I started talking to her about branding. Like, do I brand Kyle Wolff? And then I've got this tangent of podcast and real estate. And so she had some stuff to say. But then after the conference, we were both walking out. She was like, hey, send me your podcast. And I was like, okay. So I emailed her last night and sent it over. She wrote back this morning. She's like, whoa, like your production quality is fucking awesome. Your conversations are awesome. She's like, you need to figure out your target audience. And I was like, I know, but here's the deal. Every time I try and figure out the target audience, I feel like I'm not being authentic because I know that I can talk to anybody, any motherfucker that comes in on this table. I can talk to them. Like
and that's what's gonna take you next
and it's
level.
like I don't want to be like I'm only talking to people in recovery. I'm only talking to people in farming. I'm only talking to people that work out. I don't want to be that because that's not me. And I know that on the instance that might be a detriment to this podcast because it's not so niche. It's not targeted. It's not deep and skinny, right? Or whatever they say, like go narrow and skinny and you're going to succeed because you find your niche market. I'm like, no, that's not me. That's not what this is about. That doesn't help me heal. That doesn't help me get through. Like this is a therapy session, right? This is me talking out loud. I feel when we leave here, I'll be on like cloud 9, feeling amazing. That's not me. I can't define the audience because I don't know what it is from week to week. I don't know who I'm talking to. I don't know who your friends are on Facebook. But this conversation, if this gets posted on your social media, this can have a profound impact on somebody else that I have no idea who the fuck they are. But if I like put myself in these, these like super, super confined lanes, then I feel like I don't have the ability for me to be actually authentic the way that I am.
And I agree. And I think, speaking of tattoos and real estate, take that with you.
Yeah.
You don't have a target audience, I am socially awkward. I can be super shy until I get to know you. There's people who come into the shop and I'm like, oh God, please don't talk to me. Please don't sit down. Because I get in my shit about it. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, I can rock with the teenagers. I can rock with the people my age and the elderly people. I can have so much fun and so much conversation and so much joy with you. At the end of the day, I'll tell you, I am terrified of teenagers. I am terrified of people my own age because, oh my God, what if they know who I really am,
Sure.
Or like old people, like, well, she hasn't quite gotten there yet, Oh, screw it.
Yeah.
Screw it. I'm going to have fun. You're going to leave that place. We're going to have a good conversation and you might that girl's insane. But damn it, you're going to come back and be like, all right, tell me what else you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's true. I mean, honestly, you helped a client of mine the other day. It was kind of crazy. She randomly called me like, I don't even know how the hell she got my name, but anyways, met up with her. Her name's Stephanie. Mm-hmm. And she's been officing out in Allison in her house. And she's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So she's like, comes into my office and we're trying to find her a space. And I put her in touch with the treehouse and all this stuff. And here's all these spots you can use free internet. And she's like, I looked up a place and like Lizzy's coffee shop came up. And she's like, I just went and it was great. She's like, we had conversations and it was awesome. She's like, I was ready to like literally fucking go insane sitting in my house, in my cubicle. And I was like, yeah, just go every day. Like
she's totally like the third person in our 2-man group now.
Cool.
There's another lady that comes in every single day and we just sit there and we just bullshit and we just laugh and we have so much fun.
Yeah. But she needed that. She was like, she was legit. I think from a mental capacity, I think she was at the end of her rope.
Yeah.
Like it was affecting her work. It was affecting her life. And the weird thing was like her husband works in town.
Yep.
But she would be there at that house and it's like she didn't have anything. And like she needed that. She needed that community that you're building, even though it wasn't really an AA situation. She was like,
no, it was just people.
Yeah. She was like, she's like, I got so much enjoyment of that. Like it literally saved that day for me. And I was like,
good. Oh, that's awesome. I love hearing that.
Yeah. So
she's awesome. She's back, Montana.
She kind of goes
now?
Between.
Yeah. But this other lady who comes in and we've built like, I've never had lady friendships.
Oh,
I can talk to guys all day long. And I was telling John this the other day. I'm like, well, are mom friends? Like, moms, for whatever reason, don't want anything to do with me. I got mom friends now.
Yeah.
I got all these lady friends. I was telling John, I'm like, dude, I've never had lady friends before. Like, this is so cool. And he's like, it's wild because I haven't. Like, I used to be like, my best friend's Cruz Baca. It's a boy, And I'll go out with Cruz. Oh, Cruz and I are going to go get lunch. And now I'm like, well, I'm meeting Beth and we're going to go get ice cream or, whatever. And it's so wild. I'm like, I got girlfriends.
That's awesome.
It is.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm glad you're building the community. I really am. Like, I think it's, it's something that Bayfield needs and we don't have a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't have a ton, but the stuff we do have, I think is amazing. Like in a weird way.
I agree.
And like, maybe not so much our grocery store. Love you, Paul, but hey, but we,
Paul's bailed me out a couple of times when I run out of some shit. I'm like, I gotta get over there.
That was my first job, dude. I swear, every time I see Paul, I don't even know how long I worked there for, maybe a couple of years, but yeah, every time I see him, he asks me how my parents are doing. He knows them by name, how they doing. I mean, I love him to death. He's always been really, really good to me. But damn, I would love if we had a Farmer's Fresh or something like that. Like sometimes I'm like,
he's gonna spit in your food.
Oh, I know. It's not a Farmer's Fresh. I just wish that sometimes we had, I shouldn't say that, I just wish we had variety.
Right.
And we don't have enough people to have variety, really. But so that's not what I'm not saying. Like, I don't want Paul's grocery store. I just wish we had other,
options.
like other options. And, but the things that we do have here, I think, honestly, I think they're quality. I think we've got quality people. And it's good to see small businesses succeed. It's good to see communities start to build in this weird like spiral. The way that you had the thought, you had the goal of making it into a community, making it into a place where you could host meetings and things like that. But like, I don't know. It's like to see it and to hear it like kind of come to fruition. It's pretty
so
fucking
much
cool.
More.
It's pretty fucking cool.
It is. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I needed this conversation.
Thank you. It's been fun. I was so scared coming in here.
Why are we scared? Everybody's scared.
Because I'm a dork. I've said it already.
No, it's all good. People listen to this thing, and I've people always reach out. Maybe not every episode, but like almost every episode, somebody reaches out, and it's like a thank you. And it's like, and it might be direct message. They might not feel comfortable commenting it, but this little Know Nothing podcast helps people.
It does. And
sometimes it's just me and I get something out of it, but oftentimes people that do listen, they're loyal and they listen every week and they get something from it. So I promise you just saying what you said today will enlighten somebody, even for that moment, even for that day. Maybe it helps them get through and be like, look, if she can fucking do it, I can do this shit.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, give more than you take, right?
Give more than you take.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.